What's up guys, Super Rocker here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about a question that's become quite popular since the release of Hoppy Playtime Chapter 3. That question is, what happened to the smiling critters? You're probably thinking that we already know what happened to them, given that in the beginning of Chapter 3, when we talked to Ollie, he says that all the smiling critters are dead except for Catnap.
Daycare is straight ahead. It's the home of Catnap, one of the smiling critters. There used to be 8 of them, I think. Now it's just him. Playcare is his church, his hunting ground, whatever he wants it to be.
However, as we progress throughout the chapter, we encounter DogDay, who is alive but also suffering. He says that he and the other smiling critters tried to fight the prototype's control, but they failed, which resulted in them getting killed except for DogDay. From this, DogDay's legs get severed from his body, he gets locked away, and is used as an example of what happens to those that defy the prototype. He also proclaims that he is the last of the smiling critters. However, the cardboard cutouts that we've run into throughout the chapter suggest that this may not be true. By going over them one by one, as well as understanding the characters, we'll be able to come up with an answer as to what really happened to the smiling critters. Remember, at the end of the day, this is all theory and speculation, so I could be wrong. With that said, let's get right into it. So let's start off with Bubba Bubbaphant. When encountering his cardboard cutout, he says these lines here.
I'm Bubba Bubbaphant. Hey, I remember you. An elephant always remembers. Want to know what I remember about you?
Let's talk about his first line. He introduces himself and says, "Hey, I remember you." This could be directed towards Bubba remembering our player working in the factory 10 years ago. The next line he says is that an elephant always remembers, implying that he has a really good memory and is very smart, just like how he's described. When Bubba says, "Want to know what I remember about you," he begins to laugh hysterically and then screams until it cuts. I believe that he is inhaling red smoke, just like in the cartoon show where Bubba asks Catnap to help them go to sleep.
Please, help us go to sleep, Catnap.
We need it, Catnap. Please help us. Sleep, sleep, sleep.
This means that Bubba was killed by Catnap due to seeing something he wasn't supposed to see or disobeying the prototype's orders. Let's move on to KickinChicken. When playing his cardboard cutout lines, this is what he says.
Hey, I'm KickinChicken. Want to go outside and hang out? It's looking pretty rad outside. I've never been outside before. Will you come with me? I'm scared. Here, follow me. I'll step out first.
From these lines, he introduces himself with a cool vibe and asks if we want to go outside. This means that he wants to make it to the outside world and escape, but he's afraid of going alone, so he asks someone trustworthy to come with him. In this case, it would make the most sense for him to ask another smiling critter, and I believe that he asks Bubba to come with him, which we will connect back briefly. This is where I believe that the smiling critters were planning to escape the factory. The reason for their escape would be that firstly, they wanted nothing to do with the prototype, and secondly, they were running out of food. They end up finding a way, but KickinChicken gets killed the moment he steps outside. He could have been killed by the prototype or former security like Huggy Wuggy or Botsy Boo. This is evidenced by Poppy's line where she says that if we try to leave the factory, the prototype will kill us.
Prototype knows we're coming by now. You try to escape, he'll kill you before you ever reach that front door.
After Bubba witnesses this, he goes back to tell the others what happened, but he runs into Catnap. Since Catnap is another smiling critter, Bubba lets his guard down. From this, Catnap emits his red smoke, making Bubba laugh and scream. Then he gets killed by Catnap. So you may be wondering what happened to Kickin and Bubba after they were killed. Well, let's move on to Piggy and you'll know. When finding Piggy's cardboard cutout, this is what she says.
Hi there, I'm Piggy. Let's eat. Roast beef, delicious. Grilled chicken, down the hatch. Seared elephant, yum. Played unicorn, Still hungry. Hey, what do you say you and I be friends?
When Piggy talks about roast beef, this is a reference to all the human workers that were killed in the factory during the Hour of Joy. At first they had plenty to feed on, but soon realized that they're running out, which resulted in some of the toys becoming cannibalistic and started to eat each other. She then talks about eating grilled chicken, that being KickinChicken, seared elephant, meaning Bubba Bubbaphant, and flayed unicorn, which would be CraftyCorn. They're all related to being cooked in an open fire and afterwards eaten. After which she says that she's still hungry and tempts someone into becoming her friend, which most likely results in them being eaten. At the end, we hear no scream, meaning that she isn't dead and is somewhere deep within the factory. With understanding this, we're presented with a problem. The problem being that, what did the other smiling critters know about Piggy's actions? Well, it's possible that since the prototype is extremely intelligent and probably knows about Piggy's eating habits, he would take advantage of this and present to her an opportunity. That being, if Piggy stayed quiet and obeyed the prototype, she would be provided with food to satisfy her hunger. She agrees, and not only does the prototype maintain control, but Piggy increases her chances of survival. It's very sad, but plausible. You may be wondering what happened to CraftyCorn. We'll talk about her later on in this video. Next up, we have Hoppy Hopscotch. When playing her cardboard cutout lines, this is what she says.
I'm Hoppy Hopscotch. Wanna try hopping to the moon with me? On three with me. 1, 2, 3! Heh, didn't get very far, did we? Again! 1, 2, 3! Nope, still didn't make it. Listen, this won't stop until we make it to the moon. 1, 2... No, don't look at your feet! None of that matters! Again! Jump!
From hearing this, it sounds like Hoppy is encouraging someone to jump over a huge gap with her, most likely to escape the factory. However, the other person that's with Hoppy believes that they can't make the jump. From all their failed attempts, Hoppy gets frustrated and commits to the jump to show that they can, which connects to Hoppy being described as energetic, enthusiastic, and sometimes impatient. But Hoppy underestimates the length of the jump and falls to her death. Once again, you're also wondering who's the person that's with Hoppy Hopscotch. The person who most likely traveled with Hoppy is Bobby Bearhug. This is supported by her cardboard cutout lines.
Hi, I'm Bobby Bearhug. Wanna know how much I love you? I love you to the moon and back. I'm crazy about you. I'm lost without you. I've been lost a long time. Please, take me with you this time. You won't leave me, will you?
She sounds caring, loving, and kind, but also shy as well. If you notice that her line, "I love you to the moon and back," is in relation to how Hoppy asked if we wanted to try hopping to the moon with her. Not only does this line relate to Hoppy and Bobby's friendship, but also their plans to escape. Most likely, with the factory being abandoned for years, new obstacles would present themselves to the smiling critters, meaning that they had to take another path to escape instead of the other way that KickinChicken and Bubba discovered. But we know that they ultimately failed, as explained by the screams at the end of Hoppy's cardboard cutout lines. This would explain why Bobby says that she's lost without us and has been lost for a really long time. At the end of her recording, there is no scream, meaning that she's most likely alive and is hiding somewhere deep in the factory. As for her other lines, "Please take me with you this time," and "You won't leave me, will you?" This could be related to DogDay's sacrifice in order for Bobby and Hoppy to escape the factory, which then leads us to DogDay, the strong and determined leader of the smiling critters. When encountering his cardboard cutout, this is what he says.
DogDay says, fetch! Go! As far as you can! Why are you just standing there? You can't be here. You can't stay.
The first line that he says is the default voice line that we heard before. However, when he says "go as far as you can," he's most likely talking to a Bobby Bearhug scared still. He's trying to convince her to run away with Hoppy as far as they can so that they can escape. Bobby is hesitant to leave DogDay alone to distract the prototype and catnap, which will relate to how DogDay is saying that "you can't be here, you can't stay." Bobby agrees and goes with Hoppy. DogDay then acts as a distraction, and as a result, his legs get ripped and he's locked away, as we see him later in the chapter, which then leaves us with CraftyCorn. This is what she says when we play her lines.
Hi, I'm CraftyCorn. Can you help me with my painting? Pass me the blue, please. Thanks. Now, can you give me some red? More red, please. Out? But we can't be out. more red from me. I know you are. Give it here! Now that's much better.
From this, we know that CraftyCorn is a conscious observer of both color and creativity. She understands the importance of art. Continuing with her lines, she receives the blue she needs and asks for red. She continues to ask for more red until it runs out. CraftyCorn then begins to panic and says, "You're hiding more red from me. I know you are." Then she angrily attacks the person she's speaking to in order to acquire more red. We then hear her scream, and afterwards she says, "Ah, now that's much better." Now, the way that Crafty uses the word red is most likely associated with blood as well as food. She probably killed some of the smaller toys to acquire more red, not only for her art, but also for food as well. Eventually, she runs out. While her lines play out, it sounds like CraftyCorn is talking to one of the smiling critters. And if that's the case, I believe that she's talking to Piggy. This is evidenced by Piggy's cardboard cutout line of eating flayed unicorn. One thing to keep in mind is that after the CraftyCorn cardboard cutout finishes screaming, she says, "Ah, now that's much better," meaning that she wasn't killed by Piggy, but was injured after fighting for the red. She gets the red and realizes that this red comes for her friends who were eaten by Piggy. This would then click in her head that her friend Piggy is working with the prototype and catnap in order to satisfy her hunger. This would then lead her to leave warnings around the factory for her friends, which would tell them to stay away from Piggy due to how dangerous he is and that she cannot be trusted. This can be seen in the tunnel where you get chased by Huggy Wuggy. On top of this, she most likely sent the letter to our player, considering that at the bottom left corner of the letter there is blood, which would connect back to the red that CraftyCorn desperately wanted. Another thing to add is that both the letter and CraftyCorn share similarities of having a flower. Following this letter does use different colors, just like we see in the vent and on the giant red flower. Sending the letter will be seen as an act of betrayal to the prototype, and thus she would be killed by catnap. Eventually, DogDay and the remaining smiling critters would find these warnings and figure out that the prototype and catnap are responsible for keeping them locked in the factory, turning Piggy against them, and their friends' deaths. Now, this is where we put the pieces of the puzzle together and present our answer as to what happened to the smiling critters. After the hour of joy, all the human workers that were killed are gathered and stored away, being used as a source of food for all the bigger body toys. However, their supplies start to run low, and after running out, they start to become cannibalistic. The smiling critters realize that the only way for them to survive is to find a way out of the factory. However, the prototype wants to keep all the toys inside. This is where KickinChicken and Bubba Bubbaphant will search for a way out for the others. They find one, but as soon as KickinChicken steps outside, he is instantly killed by either the prototype or some security measure like another bigger body toy. Witnessing this, Bubba makes his way back to the smiling critters to tell what happened, but he is met by catnap instead. Seeing that he's another smiling critter, he lets his guard down, resulting in catnap emitting his red smoke, which causes Bubba to laugh and scream just like in the cartoon show. Bubba is then killed by catnap. The prototype and catnap would bring the bodies of Kickin and Bubba to Piggy due to the fact that the prototype is smart enough to recognize Piggy's desperation to satisfy her hunger. Piggy would be able to survive as long as she obeys the prototype. She agrees and thus eats Kickin and Bubba. The other smiling critters would then question what happened to their friends. While figuring out the truth, Crafty goes about getting red for her art as well as food, but then she runs out. Crafty then makes her way to Piggy, knowing that she likes to eat a lot, and assumes that she's hiding red from her and the others. The two fight it out, resulting in her not being killed but injured in the process. She gets the red and realizes that this red comes from her friends who were eaten by Piggy. This would then click in her head that her friend Piggy is working with a prototype and catnap in order to satisfy her hunger. This would then lead her to leave warnings around the factory for her friends, which would tell them to stay away from Piggy due to how dangerous he is and that she cannot be trusted. She then goes about making a letter and sending it to our player, who will come back to the factory many years later. This act is seen as defying the prototype, and thus she gets killed by catnap. Eventually, DogDay and the remaining smiling critters would find these warnings and figure out that the prototype and catnap are responsible for keeping them locked in the factory, turning Piggy against them, and their friends' deaths. This is where they decide to make a final stand against the prototype and catnap, but we know that they fail. Being a leader, DogDay would then tell Bobby and Hoppy to run as far as they can and find a way out of the factory as he distracts the prototype and catnap. At first, Bobby is reluctant to leave DogDay behind, but then agrees and runs away with Hoppy. As they run, they can hear DogDay screams as his legs are being ripped off his body. After running far away, they eventually find a means of escape, but there's a huge gap they have to clear. Hoppy Hopscotch tries to convince Bobby Bearhug that they can make the jump. However, Bobby Bearhug is hesitant, and out of frustration, Hoppy attempts to jump, but underestimates the length and falls to her death. This leads to Bobby Bearhug retreating to the deeper parts of the factory. She goes into hiding and feeds off scraps to survive. As for Piggy, she is also somewhere else in the factory, continuing to quench her hunger. This brings us back to DogDay being locked away and used as an example of what happens to heretics that defy the prototype. Many years would pass, and we arrive at the point of our main character returning returning to the factory, and thus the story of Poppy Playtime plays out. Seeing how Bobby Bearhug and Piggy are the only smiling critters left alive, we will most likely see him appear in Poppy Playtime Chapter 4. Bobby will be our ally and Piggy will be our enemy. As for where we will see these characters, we'll most likely encounter them in the amusement park in the next chapter, which is evidenced by this poster here. With all this in mind, this concludes my theory of what happened to the smiling critters. If you guys have any theories or thoughts about what happened to the smiling critters, feel free to let me know in the comments. If you guys enjoyed today's video, go ahead and hit the like button down below, as well as subscribing to my channel so you don't miss any of my uploads. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay safe, positive, be there for another, and remember, the grind never stops, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy, y'all.